Good evening to our respected viewing audience. The American plane in which the lives were lost of the American Secretary for American Commerce and Trade, Ron Brown, and the business associates which traveled with him in Croatia, and the American public. It is assumed that 32 are dead, and even though all of the bodies have not been found. The Croatian president has called an immediate special meeting, which will be shown at 7:30 on our first program. The Prime Minister of Croatia, Matoš, came to the area in which the plane went down, along with the American ambassador, Peter Galbraith. Our reporter, Željko Korpar, is giving a report from the area, from the mountain of St. Ivan. The remains of the airplane are thrown within 300 meters of the area in which the plane landed. Only the tail of the plane was minimally saved. All evening, there was a search party to find the bodies and remains of the passengers of the plane who were supposed to come to the Čilipi airport. To reinforce the search party, I-4 also took part. We came to this area after walking for 1 hour over rocky roads because it is dangerous to travel this road because of the mines that are still remaining after the war. Just before 11 o'clock this morning, at the site of this tragic crash, the Prime Minister Matoš and the American Ambassador Peter Galbraith have arrived at the scene. Mr. Prime Minister, please, you have gone to the actual area. We were not able to get to all of the areas. Can you please give me your first impressions? My first impressions are horrific. I think that this is a terrible tragedy, terrible air crash. The ambassador and I, and we are all assured of this, that we are all together working with I-4 in the search party and giving everything that we can from ourselves to secure the area in which the plane went down. And the weather is very, very bad. And also we have the special police helping, and they have spent the entire evening and night in this area trying to save lives. But unfortunately, the only individual who had some signs of life also died in this tragedy. And this has really shaken Croatian and the American public. What are your activities now? Right now we are working together with the Americans to try and find the reasons for this crash. And all of the documentation will be available so that we can find out how this tragedy happened. Mr. Ambassador, how do you evaluate this tragedy that has happened? First, allow me to say that this is a very sad day and a very sad place. And my sympathies and the sympathies of everyone else go to the families and the friends and to the 2 Croatians that were on the plane. The cooperation between I-4, my country, and the Croatian government has been ongoing as soon as the plane went down and search and rescue operations started. As soon as the airplane was located, there were immediately more than 100 members of the Croatian Special Police and military forces. And also I-4 is helping the Croatian government. And I'm very happy and pleased with everyone's efforts. Thank you. As I have heard, a black box was found which will give way to information about this tragedy. This was the first TV report from the scene of the accident. And now, again, back to our cameras, to Željko Korpar. What is going on right now, Željko? Good evening, colleague Liljana. I think we are ready for the search party to bring down the bodies, the remaining bodies, and then we will proceed with the identification of bodies into the morning hours. And the cooperative efforts of the forces will continue the investigation with respect to the airplane parts. Ones that were able to get close to the site. What did you see on the tape? You can see the tail, but to the right, 50 meters of that, I am assuming it is the left part of the motor and a piece of the left wing. It is assumed that the airplane hit frontally into the mountain, but General Callahan, who is heading the I-4 cooperative efforts with this investigation, said that for the reporters, the area will only be open when all of the bodies have been taken down from the mountain, and that was also confirmed.
In Croatia, after an all-night search effort, the bodies of all 33 passengers of the American military transport plane were found. The aircraft crashed into a hillside directly upon descent in Dubrovnik. Among the passengers on board was the Commerce Secretary of the United States, Ronald Brown. The cause of the accident, according to American diplomats in the military, was most likely poor weather conditions or technical malfunction. There are no indications that the plane was either shot down or that an explosion had occurred on board. There was no combat activity noted in the area of the accident. Experts presume that the crash of the aircraft 143, a modification of the civilian Boeing 737, could have occurred because of a steering system malfunction. Immediately upon receiving the tragic news, President Clinton canceled his planned address at the conference on the war against crime and visited the widow of the deceased U.S. Secretary of Commerce Ronald Brown. Brown had been instrumental in Clinton's presidential victory. When Clinton assumed power, Brown received the post of Commerce Secretary, although he'd hoped to be Secretary of State. Ronald Brown was the highest-placed black American in President Clinton's administration. Brown grew up in a black neighborhood of New York, Harlem, and upon completing his education, launched himself a brilliant career. In speaking of the deceased, Bill Clinton called Ronald Brown one of the most gifted people that he'd ever known. Today, at the site of the crash, 2 black boxes were found from the crashed plane. There is hope that the deciphered data will help to